This is Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 here to give you some thoughts from Friday night's super regional game between Florida and South Carolina. This one played at Condren Ballpark in Florida. And this is a game that I said, boy, this could be a great series based on what happened in Columbia, which was South Carolina sweeping Florida. But as I pointed out, different season ago for both teams in so many ways, for both teams for different reasons. But let's get right into this one. The way this starts, you would have thought this would have been a football score. It's 2-2 after one. South Carolina has a 3-2 lead with 7 hits after 2 innings. Just is really getting to Brandon Sproat, Florida's fine starter, who was hitting 100 on the gun. And that's one of those where you wonder, when you only get 3 runs out of 7 hits in 2 innings, is that going to come back to bite you? And that's exactly what happened to South Carolina. Florida gets the lead late with some long balls. I guess maybe the big one from Riopelle. Shelnut had one late too. Rivera also had one. And Florida just does what it does, which is peck away with you at long balls. It tied the game in the 6th inning, and then it went ahead in the 8th. I think that was Riopelle's. South Carolina in the 9th inning in that game got the first 2 guys out, and does Florida, Brandon Neely on the mound, their closer, and then Will McGillis hits his second home run of the night. You're thinking, okay, this is going to be interesting. But it wasn't. He got the last out, and Florida hangs on for a 5-4 win. Man, if you didn't watch this game, you missed a great one. Not just some of the pitching and the long balls, but you had some interesting plays. You had a play where Braylon Wimmer was beating out a single, I guess it was. It was an errant throw. It got down the right field foul line. He had a collision with first baseman Jack Caglione, and then just kind of confusion ensues. I think Wimmer thought that he'd been given the sign that that's interference, advanced to second. So he kind of trotted down there and ended up being out, and a lot of confusion ensued, a multi-minute review. And this would be my chance to give you, I guess, a pet peeve I have with umpiring. Explain the call. If you mess something up, huddle with your fellow umpires, go to replay, do whatever, but get it right and tell people what happened. The TV commentators were confused a good bit of the night. We were confused a good bit of the night. They speculated Wimmer's a smart player. He probably would have approached the situation differently. Maybe if he thought the signal was different. So the perception was that Wimmer thought that interference had been called, and that really changed the perception, the flow of the game from there. Carolina got a hit later in that inning. I don't know if they would have scored a run out of it or not, but that was kind of a key moment in the game that had some interesting calls. You had an out safe situation with Jack Caglione on a steal where I think the call was out on the field and it held, and close play, but you had a lot of moments like that. I'm just thinking, that's when I wish the umpires would be a little more transparent with us. Sometimes your vision's blocked, something happens that's unexpected, but huddle up and give a better explanation than you gave last night. But anyway, some other interesting things in this one. Carolina had held Will Sanders, I think, was hoping to hold Will Sanders until a potential game 3. He's kind of given Florida fits. They brought him in for James Hicks starting the 6th inning, and he was not as effective as he's been against Florida. He gives up 2 runs in 2 1/3 innings, and so that's a move that Mark Kingston made that I'm not going to say backfired, because in that situation I might have used him too. But that's a bullet that Carolina had in its arsenal that I'm not going to say that they can't still use Sanders later in the series, maybe in a potential game 3, but he threw 46 pitches. And so that's going to be an obstacle. In the meantime, Brandon Sproat for Florida gives Florida exactly what it needed, which was 6 innings of 3-run ball. He throws 105 pitches. Cade Fisher comes in with 2 scoreless innings. He's been terrific in the postseason. He only throws 16 pitches, and Brandon Neely, in getting that 1-inning save, he only threw 16 pitches. By the way, struck out the first 2 guys, looked really good in that. I just thought this was a game that showcased how good the SEC was this year. If you're Carolina, you're probably reminding that one in your mind and going, boy, if this had happened differently or that had happened differently, maybe it's a different outcome. Maybe the Gamecocks are up 1-0. And of course, that changes the flow of the series. I think The stat that they showed last night is it's something like 79% of teams that win game one wind up winning the super regional. So Florida, by virtue of being at home, certainly in the driver's seat between that and the 1-0 lead. But crazy stuff can happen in supers sometime. They flashed the stat last night. I was keeping an eye on Oral Roberts in Oregon. And Oral Roberts got up 8-0 in that game on the road against Oregon. And the stat was, I think teams that had an 8-run lead in a super regional were 96-0. Well, guess what? Now they're 96-1 as Oregon came back and won that game in the ninth inning after chipping away in that one. Point being here, playoff baseball, just about anything can happen, especially in this high run scoring environment. And boy, these games in the supers have been fun to watch so far. Going to have a lot of fun on Saturday watching baseball. Not only do we get the Florida-South Carolina game 2 at 2 o'clock, that starts at the same time as Kentucky LSU and Tennessee and Southern Miss. And my goodness, I really want to watch all three games. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I've got 2 TVs. Maybe I'll be watching my phone too and trying to watch 3 at once. And all 3 of those are worth watching. Hopefully by that time, Alabama and Wake Forest, which start at 11, that should be over, you would hope, or close to being over, so I can have my full attention on those other games. But 4 terrific SEC baseball games, or games involving SEC teams, I guess I should say. 2 of those are SEC on SEC. One is SEC on ACC, and the other one, the SEC on the Sun Belt. But I just can't wait to watch these 4 games on Saturday. We'll have a reaction to those probably early Sunday morning, maybe mid-morning, depending on my schedule, and tell you what happened in all 4 of those. Best way to get those, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. That helps our analytics. Anyway, I'm Chris Lee of Southeastern 14. Thanks for watching our SEC baseball content. We are starting to pump out stuff for football, too. I know people can't get enough of that, and we're putting a lot of that out, too. In any case, thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon with more great content at Southeastern 14.